Welcome to Not Sure This Matters with Mark, Shoots, Fish, Mike Ranfone, Dr. Marco Lujic, Matt Nolan, and Marcus on the keys. Guys, good morning.
Good morning.
What's up?
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. We're trying to get it together. We've been telling some
By the way,
off-color
It's
jokes.
been sloppy.
What's
it's
the
been a
whole
little
thing about,
reckless.
like, thank God it's Friday? Where did that ever happen? I just thought of that.
The
Friday
restaurant?
night? No, ABC.
No, but
TGI,
no, but people started posting pictures of like them like laying down or something. I don't know. It's like a big trend now. It seems like.
My only reference is the Office episode where there's a poster of a cat like hanging on by a limb, and it's like just hang in there till Friday.
Thank God.
Thank God it's Friday.
All right.
God is good.
Maybe fact check.
Show's not religious, nor is it political. Yet I have a comment for you.
Okay.
Oh, jeez.
So my buddy, okay, been in this country 25 years. There's these videos going around. I'm not on social media, but he brought it to my attention. ICE is going and like deporting illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
And he's in New Haven, and he's been here for 25 years.
Is he a legal immigrant?
He's illegal. Like, I don't know too much about like the intricacies of how you become a citizen, but like I know he's applied for citizenship 3 times in his 25 years, has never gotten it, has a driver's license, owns a home, so pays a mortgage through a bank, and has what's called like an ITIN, so he can pay taxes, and probably pays more taxes than you and I because he just gives all of his money to the government. And now he went and signed a power of attorney over to his girlfriend's daughter so that if he were deported, like she can sell the house on his behalf. And so all this is going on. I'm starting like it's like my grandmother is from Ireland, right? And you think like it's such like a weird time of reflection for me, and I think just people in general, because it's almost like scary and like intimidating that like you can be living your normal life and the next thing you know you're gone.
Yeah.
So I just feel terrible for this guy. So anybody who's going through it, my thoughts are with him. I also came to another conclusion. This is neither political nor religious.
Okay.
I'm out on Tom Petty.
Out?
Out.
Why would
It
happen?
sounds like it's both political and religious, if you ask me.
I think my Spotify was on, you know the band Fun?
No.
Some nights I spend.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Tom Petty came on, and I switched it like 3 times.
Yeah.
And I feel like un-American doing it, but I'm out on Tom Petty.
You have to be in.
You might get deported.
Yeah, I might get
Well, you got to be in
deported.
a serious
Too
mood.
soon, Mike. Mike, too soon.
Sorry.
It's got to be the right mood for Tom.
For
Petty.
Tom Petty. And some of it's like the songs
Yeah,
are good.
I don't think
but, like,
he's an all-around constant. And it's like very related to smoking weed.
Yeah,
So if
okay.
you're gonna like light up a joint and he's what's on the radio, it might inspire you. But like
Last
he's
Dance with
kind of
Mary
just
Jane.
he's a little bit of a whiner.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Rest in peace, too. Yeah, dead, I think.
yeah,
Okay.
It's like bad country backwoods banjo mixed with rock and roll, and it sometimes gets annoying.
Is
I
it
agree.
un-American to not like Tom Petty?
No.
No,
What about
God.
Bruce Springsteen?
I'm not a
The
huge fan.
stronger argument, but I'm not a boss guy.
Dave Matthews?
I'm not I love Dave Matthews concerts.
Okay. Yeah,
Or
well, who
actually
doesn't?
the parking lot.
That's all
I've
we
never-
have in Connecticut.
I've
was
never
Dave
been
Matthews
to
concerts. And
I
they
I've
did
been
it
to
in
100
Coliseum.
concerts. I've never been in to see
Yeah.
a concert.
I like
so.
Dave a lot.
Okay.
I like those shows. I like his music.
We've been talking about getting guests on.
Yeah.
Dave Matthews.
Not terrible.
No, it'd be
Getting
good.
Dave here.
Yeah.
I'll see what I can do.
But we are really trying hard to get someone who does some prepared meal stuff on
So
here,
that guy would
which will
be good.
awesome.
Also, the
He's in.
men's basketball coach for Quinnipiac University wants to come on, so that would be great.
Fun.
Nice.
I don't know what the fuck we would talk about. I guess
Basketball.
just basketball.
I might even try.
Marco's going to be like, so back in the day, I
Yeah.
don't know if you heard.
You want to play some horse, guy?
We
Yeah.
should get a live
Nerf
horse game
fucking-
for a lot of ducats and see what's up.
Let's go.
Yeah, we talk a lot of
Ask
shit.
Pete Reynolds last time.
I don't know how Pete's basketball game is. Good hockey player.
Yeah.
Good golfer.
Yeah.
Great guy.
He's an athlete.
He's an athlete. He can probably get around.
He's not too skinny anymore. He seems like he's putting on a little bit of weight. He's not as big as our other buddy, Brian.
Yeah.
New addition to the gym with a giant chest.
D Roach in the
Great-
motherfucking house.
great- new
Manly
addition.
fucking man.
He's one arm fucking put up like 125 pounds.
yeah,
Me and Pete
yeah.
were on either side of him. We're like, what the fuck, dude? Like,
It's
we asked you to come
spectacular.
here. You're not supposed to look like
and he's
fucking
quiet
total dweebs.
about it too. You
Yeah,
know?
he's a silent killer.
Yeah, silent killer. I love it.
How about some fact checks?
Fact checked it.
Would love some.
Progress. Forward or onward movement toward a destination. I thought it was interesting because it notes destination.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot about progress on this podcast and not enough, I think, about goals. Like it's, I'm not getting anywhere. I think a good follow-up to that is, all right, well, where are you trying to get?
Yeah.
And so I'll talk a lot about my weight and the muscle and the muscle gain that I'm putting on and all the weights that I'm trying to incrementally go up on. But I think I maybe need a target in order to say whether or not I'm getting any better at it.
And I mean, at least in my office, the first thing I ask everybody at the initial consult is what is your goal?
Yeah.
Which I guess maybe I'll rephrase now because this is a pretty interesting thought. I guess instead of goal, what is your destination, right? Like, where do you want to end up?
Yeah.
Ultimately, after we finish this experience.
Yeah, that's good.
Because I guess you're right. Progress, you do have to have a destination to get to. Mike always says it, like, be somewhat goal-oriented, and then the progress you make, even if it's not going backwards, is still progress forward.
That's where I pulled the fact check from Mike's
Yeah.
comment that, like, sometimes progress is just simply not going backwards.
Love it.
Type 2 diabetes. This is incredibly interesting. I had no idea.
And this is about to get me super excited.
Jacked up.
Fired up.
Type 2 diabetes accounts for 90 to 95% of all diagnosed diabetes cases in the United States.
That's incidence rate for anybody who's thinking.
Globally, type 2 diabetes accounts for about 98% of all diagnoses.
Yes.
Holy shit.
So I always talk about diabetes, and people are like, no, you don't realize it's a little deeper than no.
So
type 2,
I'm one of those people. I know we talked about
Yeah.
a lot on here. I just thought we talked about type 2 diabetes because it was so relatable to what you guys do. But like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's a huge disease.
It's man-made.
Yeah, it's a
It's
disease
man.
burden.
It literally would not exist without us.
Diet, lifestyle, and then if you get into the deeper parts of it, muscle mass, metabolic function, sleep, everything in your life revolves around carbohydrate metabolism, and the more variables you have out of line, the easier it is to develop. 98% completely avoidable.
Preventable and treatable.
Gone from the planet.
Has there ever been an experiment? So I think you talked about an experiment the other way where people were deprived of sleep and nutrition, right? And they started to become type 2 diabetics.
Yeah.
Have they must have then done a study where they take people who are type 2 diabetic, put them in proper nutrition and exercise routines, and then they
Curable.
Okay. And then
100%. That's what we do,
Right.
anecdotally.
so I guess I don't know the mechanics of it, but in the, I guess, medical world or the study world, whatever the funding world is, are there like lobbyists who are promoting? Is it because, in your opinion, the drugs makes people so much money that they're not choosing this as like a viable alternative?
Yeah, here the problem is this. First of all, the attack on the population for being diabetic would be seen as inhumane, right? Like, if we started actually shaming people out of diabetes, you'd be like, oh, you're a bully, just because you'd have to tell people that are overeating to stop overeating.
Okay, are you saying, so if somebody walks into your office as a medical provider and you say, hey, look, you have type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
You're saying the shame is when you as the doctor say, okay, I'm going to treat you, but it's through nutrition and exercise versus me giving you a pill.
Yeah.
And you're saying the public consensus is you're bullying that person.
My office
because
might
it's
be
a lifestyle choice.
My office might be different because they're walking in there knowing that conversation is about to be had.
Yeah, I think you said it's a voluntary relationship.
Interaction. But if you like walked around society, like if you went to Stop and Shop right now, right down the street, we could walk through the aisles. I'll almost guarantee you with a 80% success rate, I could walk around and point to insulin insensitivity or a type 2 diabetic. Like, easy. It's
is it just because he's fat?
It's body type, movement, muscle
What's
mass.
in their cart?
Yeah. What's in their cart?
You know,
it's a preventable
because
disease.
it's not happening with blueberries.
Yeah.
No.
They're in a rascal.
Yeah, right.
With American cheese and rock stars
and the
fucking
equivalent of
shades.
the insulin industry made a ton of money off it, right? Because that doesn't treat diabetes.
Okay.
Insulin doesn't treat actual root cause diabetes. It just treats the sugar level. So the equivalent would be if you were driving your car and you had a really nasty, rotted out fuel line from your gas tank, and instead of actually fixing that fuel line, you just got a fuel bladder and hooked up a secondary line and kept doing that over and over and over, never addressing the initial fuel tank issue. That's insulin. So you're not addressing the problem.
Can you tell us the process of type 2 diabetes?
Yeah, essentially you either ingest so much sugar over time that you numb your body's response to it.
Okay.
You have
your body needs sugar to survive.
Always.
If you take too much of it, you start to build a tolerance to it, so your body's not using it correctly. Is that right?
Right. You don't need excess amounts of it. You'll turn it into storable fat.
Another easy way of thinking about it is that, like, sugar that runs in your bloodstream there's only really 2 locations that can be stored. And then another place that actually burns it readily, which is your brain. So your brain burns sugar very well.
Okay.
You can only store sugar, or it turns into glycogen, in your muscles and your liver.
Okay.
So the less, and this is why we talk about muscle so much. So the less muscle you have, the less storage you have for it.
Okay.
So, and once the sugar can't get into the muscle, it just keeps going around and around, and then it tries to get into your liver. And if it's filled up there, it just starts to sit down and depose itself right there. And that's where you get these accumulations of fatty tissue, which is then visceral fat.
Right.
And like, Marco, how many times did you open someone up and be like, I don't know that they have type 2 diabetes, but I'm seeing type 2 type 2 diabetes. Like,
right. Like the inner abdominal fat is a very different type of fat in a diabetic.
Is it causing your liver to malfunction, or is it just making you fat and it's type 2 diabetes makes you obese and then you die?
Yeah, so excess sugars you can turn into triglycerides, which are storable or burnable fat, but usually you just store it.
Okay.
And then sugar itself bouncing around your blood vessels is really irritating to the vascular wallpaper.
Okay.
So it causes damage to the blood vessels.
It's where all that inflammation comes from.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the end all is this.
You walk in, you have type 2 diabetes, okay?
Yeah.
You eat too much sugar and your insulin, you become insulin insensitive.
Correct.
Okay. What is the timeline from I have it to like my body, I'm starting to die, or what does that look like?
It's a spectrum pretty quickly.
Okay.
Right away.
If you start gaining weight
Yeah.
and it ain't muscle,
Yeah. It's a problem.
You're trending. So also, just for everyone involved in this, is that type 2 diabetes, or diabetes itself, is not necessarily a binary, but a continuum.
Yeah.
So it's more like, how diabetic am I right now?
Okay.
So if you keep trending, and like if you're taking your fasting glucose every day and it's getting worse, and then 3 months later your HA1BC is all messed up, it's like, oh my God, now I'm diabetic full time.
So it's
Right.
not like you have corona, like you have corona. It's
Right.
like you have a little bit of diabetes. Now you have a lot of diabetes.
But every time you overeat, and that overconsumption via sugar
Yep.
leads to fat gain,
Yeah.
you're just ticking your way up that continuum.
And then what happens?
Well, then if you become completely insulin insensitive, or your pancreas can't keep up with the demand, or you don't have enough muscle mass to respond to the insulin you're making, you have to give somebody insulin
Yep.
to help decrease their blood sugars.
Can you do it forever?
Yeah, people do. I mean, your longevity is definitely,
Truncated?
yeah, by far. Like life expectation goes down significantly.
Gym statistics.
Stats.
New members. Nearly half of new gym members quit within 6 months. The average age of a gym member is around 35 years old. Women make up about 57% of gym goers. About 49.9% of gym members visit at least twice a week.
Yeah.
Sound right?
Yeah, for the most part, it's pretty close, except for the lifespan of a client with us.
Okay.
Like we're
Your retention is higher.
way higher.
So the genesis of this stat, I was trying to find what percentage of people that join a gym have no like physical activity experience to begin with, but this is the closest I could get.
Yeah.
Yeah, not bad.
Pretty good. No, kudos to you.
Thank you, Google. Cooking pasta.
Love it.
Yeah, when was this a thing in last
Uh,
week's episode? I don't remember talking about.
Marco was giving the example of if you only learned one way to cook pasta. Oh, medical school.
Oh,
Medical
okay.
school.
Yeah.
Doctors give prescriptions because that's all they know how to do.
Correct.
Just like if I taught my kids how to cook pasta and they thought that was the only way they knew how to cook pasta.
You see.
We're like full circle here. This fucking episode's legit.
Spot on.
Yeah. To cook pasta the best way, bring a large pot of generously salted water to a rolling boil. Add the pasta and cook till al dente. Drain, then toss with your desired sauce while reserving some pasta water to add richness, and help the sauce cling to the noodles.
Yeah.
Do you salt your water before pasta?
100%.
You do.
Do you know why?
They say to get the pasta not to stick to each other.
It actually increases the boiling point of the water.
Huh.
So the water boils at a higher temperature, so you don't have to cook it as long.
But isn't boiling water just a flat temperature?
Not if you have salt in it, because the salt makes it
The salinity makes you have to get it
increase
to
the
a higher
temperature.
heat?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I just like it because it tastes
What don't
salty.
you know? What's the capital of Nevada?
Reno.
Got him.
America.
Nope. Yes.
Oh.
Dude, you got it. Mike's like a superhero.
Yeah. It's like
Ready for this, Doc?
Ready.
Is nutrition taught in medical school?
Oh, wait. Is this a fact check?
It's a fact check. Go ahead and answer
like a
it.
couple minutes.
Ready?
15 to 20 minutes.
Yes. Nutrition is taught in most medical schools in the United States, but the amount of instruction varies. The National Academy of Science recommends that medical schools provide at least 25 hours of nutrition education, but most schools fall short. Mind you, that's 25 hours in 3 years. On average, medical schools provide 19.6 to 23.9 hours of nutrition instruction over the course of the tenure.
Seems like it's sufficient.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you.
Hold on. And only 27 to 30% of schools provide the minimum of 25 hours recommended by the National Academy of Sciences.
And the nutrition conversation has nothing to do with baseline nutrition.
With healthy people.
With healthy people. It is like you have a burn victim. How much nutrition should they need, meaning protein to help them rebuild skin? You have a pediatric patient. What is the nutrition requirements for a sick pediatric patient? You have an intensive care diabetic. What is that person's protein carb dependency? It has not. It's the same as pharmacology because the nutrition advice given in med school is a bag of fluids that you would give intravenously and make up content for nutrition, for macros, right? So it's never in a healthy preventative way. It's purely in a salvage manner.
So in broad strokes, are you saying that at medical school, they only talk to you about sick people?
Correct.
I mean, this seems 27 to 30% of schools provide the minimum of 25 hours.
Yeah.
25% of them provide the minimum. That means 75% of them don't even hit that number.
Right.
I thought it was just like you being on one of your fucking rabbit hole conspiracy.
No.
brains.
It's I'm telling you,
And
that's
the proof's
sick
out there.
Yeah.
That's sick nutrition. Healthy nutrition in medical school is, I'm not joking, 5 to 10 minutes glanced over.
That's wild to me.
Yeah.
In the news, ready? The National Institution of Health published an article about the AMA's decision in 2013 to qualify obesity as a disease, which would require treatment and prevention efforts. The cost of treating obesity-related conditions are estimated to range from $147 to $210 billion per year.
Yeah.
The article goes on to raise the controversies. What is a disease? And does the designation make the public and providers responsible for treating it? Thoughts?
I would want to hammer home the definition of disease before moving forward.
I think so.
Because, obviously, obesity, how it looks today. I mean, it's not obesity is new, it's the prevalence of it, right? So 100 years ago, obesity had a different term, or maybe that the definition of obesity didn't fit the definition of disease. So do we have to update the definition of disease because of modern consequences, technological consequences, cultural consequences?
So are you saying that because there's more fat people, we need to give a more gracious definition to the term?
No, I think we need clarity.
Okay.
Right? And I think also that, let's say 100 years ago, the obesity rate was because of X, and now the obesity rate is because of X, Y, B, C, and some unknown variable, right? So there's more factors today that obviously drive the prevalence of obesity.
Name a few.
As well as, well, the just the modern convenience of not having to work for your food.
Okay.
Not have to grow your food, not have to work. I mean, more and more people have to do less from a physical labor perspective.
Okay. I'm glad you clarified because I thought you were saying that negatively, but that's just it's just how the world works
But that's
now.
the cost of doing business now.
All right, cool.
You know
All
what I
right,
mean?
yep. Thank you for
So
clarifying.
also you can get food delivered. You never have to go make your own food. You don't have to do any of that.
Yeah, but that's a convenience that I think we shouldn't be responsible for. Now, growing food becoming like a commodity and like the farms providing the grocery store, we're never going to change that. But ordering Instacart is not really my fault if that's why you are obese.
Oh no, I want to stay away from is it the blame game that we're playing?
All right, fair
Because
enough. Yeah, let's do that.
You could be healthy and use Instacart.
Sure. Yep.
You know what I mean?
You're
So
right.
I think it's, but look at the quality of food, how we produce food,
Yep.
how food is subsidized.
Yep.
And so all these other factors that just didn't exist, which I don't know from a causation standpoint, but probably have high correlates to what we're looking at as obesity, how it looks like today.
So how would you qualify a disease?
I don't know. All I know is, and I don't even know if that's the important thing, is like, we know it's a problem. What do we do?
Yeah.
So figuring out what we do with the circumstances or the results of those circumstances is where we should probably put most of our attention.
So my best correlation is when I read something like this is I think, I put it in my own world and I think, all right, well, drug and substance abuse, right, is considered a disease.
Is it though? I don't even know.
Right, but after a while, like you start like, all right, but like it's not like I woke up one day and I had leukemia. It's like I woke up one day and instead of going to the gym, I went to the fucking liquor store. Like the accountability part of that, it's a tough call.
Yeah, so I'm
and I look at obesity not
like, can you
differently.
catch a disease?
Yeah.
Can you transmit a disease?
Well, so here,
can you be born with a disease?
Yeah,
like, so all these things are
communicable diseases are very different. Involuntary diseases are very different.
Communicable means
like if you have the
flu or
pneumonia that you can cough and you get from me.
Okay, so if you're obese, your spouse is obese, and then your child becomes obese, is that not same definition?
Well,
because of proximity?
Technically not, because if you did account for environmental factors, meaning like the actual carrier, so the two obese parents, they can't by definition give the obesity to the kids by like a chemical reaction that the kid can't stop.
I know, but it's,
I agree with you.
It's osmosis through habit.
Right. I think
and environment.
I think the problem is this in terms of diseases that we're talking about,
Yeah.
like obesity and addiction and things like that. It's very difficult to kick someone when they're down.
Sure.
Right? Like that's a hard thing to do unless you just have no empathy.
You mean as a human?
Yeah, as a human.
Sure.
Like if you see someone down, it's very difficult to go kick them.
Yep.
So if you remove the statement of it being a disease, you're kind of kicking people when they're down, right? Because now they have nothing to blame it on. Like if you're obese and you feel like you have no control of your life, or you're an addict, you feel like you have no control of your life.
Okay.
It's very easy to be like, well, I have a disease. And I don't disagree with that statement. But from a user's perspective, you can change that, right? So it's a voluntary thing to change. Like as a past drug addict, you just stop doing drugs and now you're clean and you're not a drug addict anymore in my mind.
Sure.
Like I don't think once an addict, always an addict. Like you're not a drug addict to me anymore.
Okay.
You don't use drugs. You're not addicted to it today. And that's fine. I won't argue that definition.
I understand that, but to your point,
but
if I don't continue to tell myself that I am, I might
you might
a
go
mistake.
back. Now
Right.
obesity in my mind is the same. Like yes, there are drivers and hormonal things and metabolic, stimulants that might make people want to eat. But they actually then have to go eat to provide themselves with the excess caloric intake to become obese. Whereas like a leukemia, a lymphoma, a cancer, sure, there's some environmental triggers, whatever, but there's certain things that you voluntarily could not avoid.
So the article went on to say that the the pivotal moment that obesity became a disease, or when it became recognized as a disease, is when the AMA, the American Medical Association, put this literature out, because the National Institute of Health had been saying it for decades. But until the AMA said it, most insurance companies and state funding weren't willing to support it and pay for it.
Yeah, and that's why disease names are given usually, because they're coded in medical literature, AMA approved, and then insurance companies have to honor them.
Right.
So it's purely a money thing. When I first got out of residency, I was working with a group that did a lot of bariatric surgery. One of those surgeons was a huge pusher up on Capitol Hill and here in Hartford for getting Medicare and Medicaid to cover bariatric surgery, right? So that it wasn't on the person, no accountability to it. It wasn't like plastic surgery where you pay for it. Even though in my mind, it's plastic surgery because you want to lose your obesity.
Sure. Yeah.
And the way to do that was get obesity recognized as a disease. And that was the whole push for that. And that's kind of how disease of obesity became modernized, because otherwise you reduced your population. Because if you weren't a spectacular or busy referred to bariatric surgeon and you weren't getting the pay to plays or the really good insurance covered people that were paying, you were then stuck with less volume. So as a surgeon, you go promote it as a disease. The AMA recognizes it. The government recognizes it. Insurance companies recognize it. And now you go operate on fucking every Tom, Dick, Joe, and Henry and whatever the fuck the names are, and you get reimbursed. And that's the push, which is why I can't stand that bariatric surgery is covered by any insurance unless the patient has some skin in the game for a huge amount of investment in that payment.
Or involuntary.
Involuntary.
And a quick question. I don't remember the statistics, but what's the failure rate of bariatric surgery?
Well, so they only really track it so far. So the percentages look, the data is completely skewed.
I would think that they'd want to show that it's a high failure rate so they could stop paying for it.
No, because it's such a big business for hospitals. The amount of money in bariatric surgery.
Yeah, but the hospitals are reimbursed by the insurance companies.
So one of the most, but
so they seem counterproductive.
That just drives premiums up.
Premium.
Just pay us more.
always
Pay
gonna
us
come
more. So you and I would pay more, even though we're never going to have.
I mean, when I
bariatric
was a
surgery. Got it.
resident,
Okay.
the bariatric surgery department was like elite. Because, like one of the highest paid doctors in the hospital was one of the bariatric surgeons, which I remember just being like, dude, don't you feel like a schmuck? Like all you're doing is voluntary operations on people that, because the proof was you had to lose 50 to 100 pounds just to prove you could deal with bariatric surgery. I was like, they're already losing the fucking weight.
Yeah, it's like,
and now we're operating.
Alcoholics can't get a liver transplant unless they stop drinking for a
so
year.
you just stop drinking.
That's right.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, and when the opiate crisis epidemic had come out, right, and the OxyContin and turned into the heroin and all that, this is like 2007, 2008. Rehabs, insurance companies, like when it became very popular, right? Similar to what sounds like you're saying about obesity, you would get calls from these warehouses of people saying, come down to our rehab. We're going to put you on a plane. There's going to be horseback. There's going to be a pool. There's going to be fucking girls. There's going to be it was such a big business.
Yeah.
And then after a few years, and like I'd gone through it for a while, like those calls started because insurance companies started saying, holy shit, it wasn't just the 100 people that have addiction to these opiates. It's fucking millions.
Yeah.
We can't keep paying for this. And all of a sudden, the quality and level of care started to diminish. So I wonder, with the increase of obesity, the epidemic, the crisis that we're going through now with too many fat people, I wonder if the level of care is going to diminish over time as insurance companies say, we can't continue to pay for this. Is that a concern?
I don't know if level of care. I think it's just going to become like now they're going to the pediatric populations. I do think it'll get dumbed down a little bit in terms of the attention paid to it. So level of care might get worse, but it's hard to say because now the operations.
But if everybody's fat, doc, right? And so everybody needs to be treated for being fat. All the doctors can't be great at treating fat people. Otherwise, you won't have good foot surgeons.
Right.
The point I was going to bring up about the failure rate is like, let's say that there was a vaccination that said it was going to stop X disease. You take the vaccination and then you still get the disease.
Yeah.
So if you get this procedure, this intervention of curing obesity as a disease, and then 3 months later,
You're
or 6
obese
months
again.
later, you're obese again. So the disease comes back. That should be the indictment on the intervention.
Yeah, didn't work.
It didn't work.
Yeah.
So no one should be charged.
Yeah.
And that guy should pay out of his pocket back to the insurance company and give that money back because, correct me if I'm wrong, you can't get that surgery more than a couple times.
Right. I mean, really, and the most surgery done now is called a gastric sleeve. So you essentially take the stomach that looks like a big sack, like a say a bean, and you cut it into a straight tube. So you make it super duper skinny, so there's no expansion, so you can't eat a lot. But what happens is you can eat through that and it stretches. So over time, if you see most of these people, they'll drop like drastic amounts of weight, and then they'll gain back a bunch. And it's really the lifestyle modification that keeps the weight off, which probably could have been done from
In the beginning. Is the stomach a muscle?
Stomach is made up of muscle. Yeah, there's a bunch of muscle in it. Glands on the inside that make mucus, a lot of different things. But you got to just remember, like, it's a big fucking business.
Sure.
And it is very rare. Like, how many times, Mike, have you been approached or called? And any gym owners out there, please respond. I'd love to hear this. How many times as gym owners, or Mike as a gym owner here sitting with me now, have you been approached by a bariatric surgeon to work in coordination with them to help their fat clients that they might not be able to operate on get super skinny so they can avoid surgery? When's the last time they reached out?
Let me do some quick math. In 17 years, zero.
Zero. Okay, so their true desire to kill obesity is zero. Their desire to operate and make money off fat people is
100.
through the fucking roof.
MyFitnessPal published an article. The article's called "People Get Heart Disease Younger Than Ever Before."
Heart disease?
Heart disease.
Heart disease.
Hard
Disease.
Heart disease.
fraud
Frontal
protection.
Lobe. Frontal lobe. Frontal
Fraud
lobe.
protection.
I had a moment.
Marcus.
Heart disease.
Sick
All right,
fuck.
back. Sorry. Heart disease.
The increasing prevalence of cardiovascular conditions in younger people has many factors. Key contributors include obesity, sedentary behavior, and diets rich in ultra-processed foods. Today, nearly half of all adults have high blood pressure, and 41% of them don't even know it. During the past decade, heart failure deaths have skyrocketed. Ready about it? By 906% in people under the age of 45.
Yeah.
And strokes among people 18 to 44 years old has gone up 15%. While heart attacks have declined overall since 2019, they have surged by 66% among young adults. 20% of all heart attacks now happening to those under 40. What do you got?
Stop lifting. You're going to kill yourself.
Where do we start?
So,
I mean,
so all
It's
right.
so much
Like
to
this
unpack,
is-
and not
yeah.
in a bad way. That's a great amount of information. It is. You actually can't comprehend it because we just went through a time where like they said, "Oh, COVID's going to kill so many people," and it did. And you just, I mean, you weren't driving down the road watching people fall
Sure.
off the side of the street and die. This is killing more people over time than COVID will ever have a fucking shot at.
You never think of like a 35-year-old dude having a heart attack. That's what happens to old people. Why are young people dying of heart attacks? Are they unhealthy?
I mean, part of it is we're just speeding up the aging process by not taking care of
Okay.
ourselves. You know, so like, let's say just X disease takes 20 years to accumulate, and 50 years ago that started at 50. Well, now that disease starts at 10. You know, like the biological age of people is expedited.
Speeding up big time.
I mean, growing up, how many obese children was in your third grade class?
One,
I
and we
could.
threw the ball at him in dodgeball every
Yeah.
time. No, I mean, I can
You
remember.
know what I mean?
who it
But
is.
like, and now it's
Get him.
he was out.
You're
Every-
out. Yeah, you're out.
But that's the problem when these diseases have a longer runway and they start earlier, especially ones of lifestyle. You know, so and we can all conclude it's like it's not the water, it's not necessarily the food, it's the combination of all these things
Yeah.
coalescing to the numbers that you just presented.
What's the end game? What's the plan? What's the strategy? I mean, you guys are in the industry, right? So it's like, what are people like you trying to do to both educate and inform that like this is real? Like, okay, we work out a ton and we look good and we have huge muscles. That's one thing. But the other thing is like, hey, your kids are dying because they're not doing any of this shit.
Yeah, it's hard to do. I get in a lot of trouble with my mouth because I don't really have a problem, and I'll sleep well at night. Like if I do see a really overweight child or family, I have no problem saying like, you guys are killing your kid.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's how it goes. Like I met actually a week or two ago with a client who's extremely overweight and their kids were overweight, and we talked about it. I said, well, how do you feel like if somebody came in your house and was trying to attack your children, you'd be upset, right?
Yes, I would.
I said, you're doing this
Yep.
consciously. So we got to get over the stigma. Like we talk about it all the time. There's this like stigma of not using the word fat or obese or not shaming, and you don't need to shame and make people feel uncomfortable and out of place in terms of your social circle. But if you really care about the fucking person sitting next to you and they are killing themselves with food, say it. And if they can't handle it, well, then that's on them.
Well, I could argue the word consciously. I don't know if some people are doing it because consciously says to me intentionally. I don't think people are
deliberately?
intentionally hurting their kids.
Sure.
But I think maybe ignorance might be hurting their children.
But placating the kid with food, making them their ability to sit and not move.
Sure.
You know,
Well, it
not
goes to Mike's
involving them
point
in
of
sports.
convenience. Like, you go to what's, take the path of least resistance.
Like I gotta say, one of the coolest things that happened is I'm helping coach my youngest son or Broncos little basketball team.
Yeah.
And there's a kid on it who's a little bit overweight.
Yep.
And the mom was so excited. She's like, you just got to get him to run. Like we can't get him off the couch.
Yeah.
He's totally uncoordinated, whatever. But that alone means that she gives a shit, right? Like she's doing something outside of her comfort zone. She's definitely not athletic. You could tell. Never played sports.
Yep.
And she really made the decision, like, I got to get this kid moving because I don't want him to be sick. And I think that's where it has to go with the mindset, right? Like people need to be engaged in their kids' health beyond like, oh, the yearly pediatrician visit.
Yeah, I mean, Suit says it a lot. I don't care what you do, but you got to do something.
Yeah, and we're also at a point where clearly everything that's happening isn't because of a lack of information. right? There's more information out there and more
Tons.
access to information than out there. So
Yeah, too much almost. Yeah.
right? Like I don't remember the last time someone came in for a consult and I said, do you know squats and vegetables are good for you? And they're like, holy shit, what?
Oh,
You
where
know
have
what
I
I mean?
been?
Yeah, right? So it's not about that,
Yeah.
you know? And I think it's more about, and if you go to the doctor and the doctor says, hey, you should lose some weight. And it's like, yeah, no shit.
Right.
You know, so it's like, so where's the missing link in all this?
Where is it implementation? Is it being taught at a younger age? Is it in school? Is it in social?
It's not conspiracy. It's real. Like the food industry, the pharmaceutical industry play into each other easily, and neither of them are going to fight. Right? Like the whole sugar push in the 60s with breakfast becoming a sugar bomb.
Yeah.
Like that didn't help.
Yeah, but if we're talking specifically about kids now, like kids don't have to go to the grocery store and shop for themselves, but they have to go to school and learn for themselves. So is that where it starts? If not with the parents, like I think we can all agree that it can start with your upbringing, your parents, your guardian, whoever it is. But then it's the school system, right? Like that's where you get your roots. That's where you learn to socialize. That's where you learn to play a sport, play an instrument, fucking learn chess, whatever it is to participate in some sort of activity. So maybe that's the place to start. I mean, this fucking stat about medical school blows my mind. Maybe the next week I got to go into the nutritional exercise education in the young, in the parochial and
medical and nutrition shouldn't go hand in hand. Like it should, but the way it's currently set up,
right?
Like the word nutrition isn't in medicine. Like the hospital never focuses on nutrition. So where we drop the ball, I think, with our kids is we are in such a quick, high dopaminergic stimulation. Like we just got to get this done fast. Even in the food industry, that our kids get the shit end of the stick. Like parents don't want to come home and cook a meal anymore or make something for their kid because they don't have the time. Or both parents are working, so it's a lot easier. Mom and dad are out the door, throw some fucking cereal in the kid's face. Then he goes to school, he gets another sugar bomb for lunch. Then he comes home for dinner, sugar bomb in front of a TV, and then he's diagnosed with fucking ADD. Like, no shit.
But they call, when we're talking about obesity now, like being one of the leading contributing factors to these diseases.
Yeah,
but
everything.
But aren't there other ones? Like there's got to be, because it also mentions sedentary lifestyle, right? So you don't have to be fat to get cardiovascular disease, right?
No, but body composition fat. Like you could have a lot of little kids that are body comp terrible. Like a 12-year-old that's 25% body fat that's not a healthy 12-year-old.
All right, but our kids are, I'll speak for myself. My kids are 6 and 4.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know what their fucking body comp is.
No, but they're active, they're moving, and like, yeah, if you feed them better, they're gonna feel better.
So what can as parents, which I think a lot of our listeners are, what do you look for in your kids as if they're not fat, right? Do you just say you're sitting on the couch too much? Like what can we pay attention to say like we need to start doing something a little bit differently to help our kid?
The first thing I would be is like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Me as the parent.
Yes. Yeah,
What-
because this goes into my thought process of like inheritance. Like, what are you leaving behind? You're going to leave behind habits. You're going to leave behind money. You're going to leave behind the convenience. Because no matter what kids, for the most part, emulate. They do what you do, not necessarily what you say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So being strong leaders, and I think we can all agree that like having good role models and positive influences, and those positive influences reinforcing your good behaviors is really important for anyone.
Sure.
But especially for kids. So if you're not really being that part at home, then maybe you should look at like, what can I do? Maybe I should eat better. Maybe I should take care of myself. Maybe I should take my kid for a walk or play hoops with them.
That's right.
You know, like all these little things that seem little. Really seem little, but like little hinges swing big doors. And that's an important thing with childhood because you got about 18 years with your kid. Like,
yeah, solid. Yeah.
18
If
years.
that.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And then that 18 years is supposed to set them up for life. So what are you doing in that 18 years to give them the best shot at success at whatever your terms are?
And really, by the time they're 12, you've spent the most amount of time.
The majority. It's like
and then
70%.
And then it starts to taper off. Yeah, it's kind of nuts.
Who were your role models growing up?
I mean, my parents were awesome. Like they did everything. They sacrificed everything they could. They were your classic, like blue collar, hardworking. They had 5 jobs between them. You know, like I barely saw them most of the time because they were always working, but they always prioritized us. They always wanted to give us the best opportunity to be successful. Like the classic, whatever we didn't have, we're going to make sure our kids have the shot at it.
Yeah.
Healthy people?
No, not really.
Okay.
Well,
I mean,
what do
they
you
were-
mean? Your mom was like a super health nut.
Yeah, I mean,
And
she
did it
she had
holistic-
healthy tendencies, but like, she didn't sleep. She worked 3 fucking jobs.
But she also like was way deep in holistic medicine before
Yeah.
it was even like a thing. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember she'd be like on the beeswax type pollen
bee
stuff,
pollen
which
stuff.
interestingly now is coming out as like a cancer cure, by the way.
Yeah, really.
But
Side note.
she was on spot.
So they were both athletes.
Okay.
My dad was in the military, an iron worker. Like, he if he didn't have such an active lifestyle, he probably would have died 30 years ago. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Like,
you could say that
his
about it.
activity probably buffered out a lot. And he almost died when I was 12.
Wow.
Yeah, because he didn't sleep for like a month because he worked so many jobs.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
How about you, Fish? We were role models.
I mean, I grew up in a house. My father was a doctor. I truly don't remember a day he did not get up at 5 a.m. and go to work and come home at the end of the day. Like, he just scheduled. Also the type of guy that like might cut his leg wide open and then you find him like stitching himself up in the bathroom. Never complained about a thing. Who knows? He might have had 4 cancers. We have no fucking
I
idea.
love that.
And my mother was like the consummate like house. I'm dominating the house, like dominating.
Yeah.
Every nook and cranny of it was hers. She took pride in it and then like shuttled all of us around. And then, I think as role models, we always like sat down for dinner. There was always a sit down with a cooked meal. And
Yeah.
the interesting thing is, if you said I didn't want to eat that, you were not eating, right? Like you were eating what she made. It was always in your best interest, truly looking back on it. It was never bad.
Yep.
It was like meat, veggies, and a salad. And then they just like my father worked like an animal. And my mother did whatever tasks she needed to do and ended up without an education running a billing office, like did a lot of stuff. They were just, same type of thing. Nose to the grindstone and go.
Do you ever encourage your kids to find role models outside your house?
Yeah, all the time. I think it's interesting how big the sports world has a play.
Yeah.
I didn't realize as a kid their influence on kids, but it's fun to see from the outside, and I like some of the role models they're picking up. And then,
Is the opposite of that true as well?
I do think so. If
Okay.
they get hooked onto the wrong thing.
Sure.
And then I think their teachers play a big role in their life. Huge.
Teachers are fucking amazing. Yeah.
It's a big deal, which
Yep.
is why I think teachers are a little underappreciated.
Fucking no doubt about it.
And then, the adults you surround them with, and it's proven like you become who you are around. So like if your parents were friends with shitty people that drank all the time and all they did was drink, well, you're going to become a heavy drinker.
Yep.
If you're around people that are going to the opera every weekend, well, you're probably going to like opera. So I think if you surround yourself with active adults, your kids are going to see that, or healthy adults, or whatever lifestyle choices you want to be around, and then they'll emulate that.
Mike, you encourage your kids to find role models outside the house?
I do, with the caveat that I ask them why. Like, so my 10-year-old is very into like the basketball. Like he loves basketball. He loves lacrosse. Basketball
bigger than basketball. Leo's bigger than basketball.
And there's some big personalities in basketball. And I always try to ask him, like, what about it?
Yeah.
What about that person is like, is it just because he can dunk, or is it because of all the hard work? So I always try to like pull the curtain back and ask him to like investigate like what is admirable about that person.
Smart.
Because I want him to be more focused on the process than just the event.
Yeah.
It's a nice gold watch, but how did he get it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the deal with grapefruit in medicine? Why do I see so many like warnings? Don't eat grapefruit if you're taking Viagra.
Yeah. Well, so
Really, Viagra?
I don't know.
Oh.
grapefruit can interfere with
Fact check.
with
Fact
an
check.
enzyme in your gut
Okay.
called CYP3A4.
Right.
That means nothing, but
that
you
one.
have you have these enzymes in your body. And part of that enzyme's job is to break medicines down. So if you eat grapefruit and you're taking the medicine and the grapefruit interferes with the enzyme that's supposed to break that medicine down, your blood levels and absorptions will be thrown off relative to the amount of grapefruit you've eaten.
It seems so bizarre to me that grapefruit is it's like a very specific fruit. Is
Yeah.
it why?
I thought it was
it
like
could
a
be
couple
lemon or a
different
lime.
citrus fruits.
There's
right?
there's a lot of foods out there. Like, I mean, there's millions of interferences, but grapefruit is very relevant because it really blasts that enzyme like hard. Like it makes a big difference.
Are any of the medications that you provide? Do you give like how much?
No.
How much of what you provide is dependent on, or its efficacy is dependent on what they eat?
Almost
It's a while to get that
almost
question out.
nothing. And
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to give away the magic
Right,
behind
sure,
the
yeah,
medicine,
but
I'm essentially like restoring what your body once had.
yeah, okay.
And my argument to everybody about medical interactions with the meds I deliver is like, if you gave the medication to someone with a hormone level that was spectacular, you'd never block their hormones to make the medicine more active. So it's always good to restore what your body should have had.
Mike, are there any foods that you tell people to stay away from if they're trying to get in better shape? Or is it
No.
just fat?
I mean, at some point, it's just like there's really like if you broke down, let's say, a potato versus a banana, there's very little difference. It's like what's the most practical one of the two if you like both of them. You know, to make sure that you feel satiated and feel fulfilled with what you eat. Like I think part of the big reasons why people or diets fail people is that it becomes unsatisfying, unenjoyable, a chore.
Yeah, you hate it.
So like you got to figure out how to enjoy it and how to like it. And everyone, if I put a list of like fruits, vegetables, someone's going to pick something off those lists. It's like, okay, let's just use those.
Yep.
Like you don't have to use broccoli if you hate broccoli.
Right. You talk about blueberries all the time.
Blueberries.
Yeah, you must like them.
Yeah, I love blueberries.
If somebody hits their, let's say you have your macro count, right? You have your fats, your carbs, and your proteins. Then you have your calories. If you hit your calorie number, right? Like let's say your calorie number is 2,000.
Yep.
But you haven't hit your macros yet. Should you continue eating?
Kind of depends on what you're doing at that point, whether you're trying to gain weight, lose fat, gain muscle. So the calories is the number one thing you're trying to hit in a weight loss scenario.
Yeah.
Because if you had only 1,500 calories, which means that you're, let's say, in a deficit of 300 or 400 calories, it kind of doesn't matter what you eat. If you ate 1,500 calories from Pixie Sticks, you will continue to lose weight.
Okay.
It's just there's going to be a different cost of it, you know. But so if you were trying to gain weight, the eating more calories to put you in a surplus, I probably wouldn't recommend eating 2,500 calories of Pixie Sticks. So like the calories are going to be the first thing.
Yep.
Protein's usually second.
Okay.
And then we backfill with the other things.
So if you are trying to lose weight,
why?
who gives a fuck about macros?
You do like the only thing that in a weight loss scenario, you really want to make sure that you're not losing muscle. So that's why protein's important. But if you're trying to lose weight, depending on your fitness levels and medical history, all that stuff, you have a wider range of the protein that you can intake and still be safe, or at least preserve the muscle tissue you have.
I think, Doc, you said it doesn't matter what you do. If you lose weight, you're gonna lose lean mass, which I think is muscle mass.
You're
Right?
going to lose some.
Okay.
It's almost, I mean, unless you were a robot.
So, folks, if you're going to miss your macro count and you can only get one, protein is the one to hit. Is that right? Is that fair?
Yeah.
Jenny and I started the a meal plan service. So to what we were talking about earlier, like we want to make sure we have the time to eat healthy, and that for us that doesn't mean cooking every night. So we're gonna start buying prepared meals.
Good.
The one we got, so I mean, so I'm not going to name it by name because no free ads unless they want to pay us, right? Then we'll say it.
Recovery construction
meal plans,
ground up coffee.
Yes,
Ground
RTS.
up recovery.
RTS Health.
Yeah, Marcus's Instagram.
Marcus Instagram.
5 ants.
By Vision.
He's not even in here. Where'd he go?
Oh, he fell
He
asleep.
hung himself.
Yeah. Anyway,
Fact check.
poor kid. Fact check. When we got it delivered, we scanned it for MyFitnessPal, and holy shit, there was a ton of fat in it.
Yeah, it's usually
Is
that's
that
the
normal?
problem. So the way that I look at it, there's national brands. I believe you're referring to a national brand, and there's local brands.
Yeah.
A lot of the national brands have higher fat contents, which just make it difficult to fit in your calories or fit to your macros.
Yes.
So you just have, like, fortunately, almost every one of them shows you what the calorie counts are and the macro breakdowns are.
Yep.
So you can select from that, which is the number one thing. If you're doing it for true health reasons with a plan that's been given to you or provided to you, you want to make sure that those meals fit the plan. The second thing is you got to like the food.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than spending money on the food and dreading that meal.
Yeah, I think we sort of fell victim to, it's a healthy name and it's a meal plan, therefore it's got to be healthy for you. And it turns out it just wasn't that great for us.
For you, yeah.
And like a company like that.
60 grams of fat.
Right. And
Per
a company
meal?
like
And
that.
700 calories.
Might
Oh my
be-
God.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
60 grams?
60 grams of fat and 720 calories
I
total.
mean, that's 540 calories right there.
Isn't that fucking crazy?
But put
Well,
it
what's
in
the rest of the
perspective.
meal?
Jenny was at like 10 fat for the day, and she went to 70 like after we ate dinner. She's like, "Well, there goes my week."
Yeah.
It was crazy, dude. Yeah.
But the other thing
so
is,
that's our fault, naivete. But I thought just something people need to look out for is like,
No,
hey,
I
pay
think-
a little more attention.
and it's
Yeah.
a very responsible thing to do. But you got to remember, a lot of these pre-order meal companies
Yeah.
are doing the Weight Watchers type volume play.
Meaning,
Like if you really are obese, and you've been like crushing calories and your BMI is through the roof and your body fat percentage is 45 and you eat 2 of those factor meals in a day, you're going to lose weight.
you're still doing better.
Yeah, so
Okay.
so to
No
the
names,
average
but-
Right.
to the general population that might be ordering those with the mindset like I just got to get on a fixed meal, I can't cook anymore, I got to lose weight, that's actually going to help them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
To a more refined person like
Ooh.
you who's like very in tune with
Opera on the weekend.
Mom, did you hear that?
Yeah,
Did you hear that? Refined. Yeah.
So to somebody like you, it may be a very different interaction
Yeah.
because you actually don't need just a decrease in volume of food you're eating. You need
Specific food.
Can
Yeah.
you select different? Like, do they have different menus? Like,
Yeah, they
like
do
a keto
so
menu.
we did the keto.
Oh, that there you go. That's
Yeah.
why.
Okay, because
Well, keto is high fat diet,
fucking Jenny.
low protein, high fat.
If she listened to the podcast, then
Yeah.
like
You
she
know what
would've
else
gotten
is
this shit
crazy?
right.
Like I wish she had some resources around her to ask.
yeah,
It's nuts.
Who
Gotta
could
figure
she?
that shit out.
We'll
Yeah.
we'll email
We'll think
her.
of something. Fact check. Is there anyone around here?
Jenny, Mike is so disappointed in you. You should see his face. All right,
Silently disapproving.
Game.
So I thought about getting rid of the games, but
No
you guys were
way.
adamant against.
We're so good at
Guys,
them.
email in and let us know.
Yeah.
Speaking of the email, let me just
Yeah.
go on like a quick 30-second thing here.
Let it
right?
rip.
Okay. Nobody fucking emails. Nobody DMs.
No, they
Nobody
DM a
watches the
ton.
fucking YouTube. But everybody listens to the pod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we get a fucking Google review?
Yeah. Somebody.
Rob at the gym's like, you guys don't have any Google reviews. He
Who?
listens to the pod, but he doesn't fucking review it either.
Who?
Yeah.
Rob, pretty hair, good looking fella, Bronco.
Oh yeah,
How
yeah.
you doing?
Bobby.
Photographer.
Yeah.
I think he's single.
He's
Ooh,
handsome.
He is
Yeah,
handsome.
yeah.
He's a good looking cat. Nevertheless,
He used to be an endurance athlete.
Baseball.
Yeah, big time. He is
I'm
handsome.
gonna play him in home run derby.
He's got
right now.
great
I'm gonna
eyes.
play fish in fucking
Basketball.
horse, and then I'm gonna play Rob in a home run derby. This is gonna
Oh, I
get
don't
fucking
know.
on, dude.
Rob.
What's the what was it? Family double dare where you'd have to like go out and do an
Oh, yeah,
activity
yeah.
against each other. That's what's getting down.
Double
Not sure
dare.
this matters. Fucking family double
Mark
dare.
Summers.
So I went with Mark. Good call. I went with the letter J for January.
Okay.
Okay, you ready? The categories are. J was a lot harder than I anticipated.
Silent J.
Yogging. I think it's yogging. Jargon, Johns, Jeopardy, Jobs, Jackets, and Justice. Pick one.
Jargon.
Jargon. What does 86 mean at a restaurant?
I don't know.
In 86?
Hey, that's 86th.
Paid for.
Canceled.
We don't have it anymore.
Oh.
What does it mean when you hit it fat in golf?
You
big
smacked,
divot.
You smacked the ground too hard?
You hit the ground instead of the ball. What are the 4 bases in middle school sex talk?
Oh, kissing,
First,
breast touching,
second,
hands down
Privates.
the pants,
third.
sex.
Yes.
Sex.
How about John's?
How about him?
Name 5 other words for toilet.
Potty.
Shitter. Commode.
Man, I thought this would be easier.
Yeah.
Turlet.
Head.
A what?
A turlet.
Head.
The hat is good.
Head.
I would have accepted the loo
Laboratory.
or the we.
Oh,
or the
lavatory.
lab. Yeah.
All right.
Say lab.
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 I was
Silent.
chewing on my.
On your
Bub, bub.
nicotine. 3 presidents have the first name John. Name them.
John Adams.
Yes.
John Kennedy.
Yes.
John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
That's the
His name
third.
is my name too.
John
Da,
Todd.
da, 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 da. No, but he was the guy at the barbershop.
Johnny T.
Yeah. I was going to go with John Quincy Adams.
Oh,
for
yeah,
the
John
third.
Adams.
Yeah, there were 2 of them.
There were 2. That was his son, JQA.
Yeah. Come on.
Jeopardy.
Jeopardy.
For how many seasons did Alex Trebek? So, side note, Alec or Alex?
Alec.
Yeah, it's Alex.
C.
It's an X.
Pancreatic
Oh,
I
cancer.
always thought it was a C too. Yeah, good call.
Pancreatic cancer got him.
Yeah. For how many seasons did he host Jeopardy?
33.
Oh yeah, 35.
37.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Norm Macdonald famously portrays Burt Reynolds on Saturday Night Live with a unique moniker. What is it?
No idea. I
Mike's
love
got it.
Norm Macdonald.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Turd Ferguson.
Turd Ferguson.
Jobs.
See this hat?
Yeah. It's funny. It's a big hat.
It's a big
Yeah,
hat.
It's a big hat. It's funny.
He's chewing on his
Chewing on
gum.
his fucking gum. Yeah, just like you
Jobs.
can't get his words out. Who is the highest paid Connecticut state employee?
Gino Auriemma?
Second.
Jim Calhoun?
No. What fucking year is it, dude?
I don't know.
Dan Hurley.
The other guy.
The other guy that coaches the UConn men's basketball team. What is the average hourly rate in the United States?
Average hour. So of all wages?
Yeah.
$11.20.
Okay.
$18.
$28.16. You want to know why? Because in California, it's like $45 an hour.
Minimum.
What, minimum wage?
No, just their average. Duh.
Oh, wow.
This is the stupidest category I've ever come up with. Ready? Jackets.
Jackets.
Yeah, jackets.
What is a houndstooth jacket?
Houndstooth? It's for
a nice jacket.
It's a hunting jacket you wear on a hunt with foxes.
A houndstooth jacket is a jacket with a distinctive two-toned broken check pattern. The pattern is also known as distinctive dog tooth, shepherd's check, or puppy tooth.
Oh. I was
Turd
almost,
Ferguson had
Turd
one of those.
Ferguson.
I was almost
Big
there.
hat.
Big
It's
hat.
funny.
It's funny.
Fred Savage donated his jacket to the National Museum of American History from the Wonder Years.
The brown one?
What kind of jacket was it?
Tweed.
Leather jacket, right? The
Very
Jets.
close. Yes, New
Yeah.
York Jets.
But it was a leather jacket. It was like the leather
yes,
sleeves.
Yeah, it's the white sleeves with the
A
green
Letterman
breast.
jacket.
Who did he
Yeah.
like? Winnie?
Winnie Cooper.
Winnie Cooper.
Yeah. I liked her a lot.
Denane. She's like Danelle. She's like a very strange name in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, Winnie Cooper was dope.
Oh, yeah.
Wayne was the man.
Wayne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Headlock.
Wayne's
Boom. Justice. Last one. Ready?
Justice.
Many of us first know the First and Second Amendments. What's the third?
Oh, no.
How about let's keep it easy.
Assembly.
What's the first?
Right to assembly.
Speech.
Second?
Guns.
Third?
Right to an assembly.
No.
Protest.
No. That's the same as the
The right
first.
to eat.
The third is it prohibits
Unlawful.
military quartering
Oh.
in private homes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. That's like remember when the,
Yeah, so they can't come
the
take
American Revolution was happening, the British would come over and just sort of like
Yeah,
move
yeah,
into your
yeah.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still relevant.
Yeah, very relevant. Last one.
Wait, what was the fourth? I'm sorry.
Well, the fourth is search and seizure, but I didn't
Oh, yeah.
ask that.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay, dude. No
No, no.
problem. Yeah.
Inquiry.
Podcast for everybody.
Mad. Whoa.
How about the fifth, since we're doing it?
I don't want to talk
I
about it.
plead the fifth.
Yes.
I don't need to speak.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right to not
I don't wanna
incriminate
talk about
yourself. It'll be full circle. We are digressing.
There he is. He's
Hey,
awake.
Marcus is back.
He's awake.
Look at that hair.
Augustus Caesar introduced the statue Lady Justice, but it has since evolved from its original to include a distinguishing feature. What is it?
Cell phone.
That's a good guess.
A bouquet of flowers.
Are you familiar with Lady Justice?
Yeah.
What does she look like?
She's good looking.
Okay.
Tall.
She's got a toga.
She has two very distinguishing features. What are they?
A big nose.
One of them she started with, which was
Scale.
A scale.
the second, which she didn't have in the first one, was
Eyeglasses.
blindfold. Justice is blind.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I think that's all we got for this time. Fuck. Yeah. So
We did much better than
in or out.
normal, though.
Yeah. So we will just stick with the letters. Till next time.
Just a
got it.
J.